morning and welcome to the March 28th, 2023 meeting of Henderson County Fiscal Court. We are glad you're with us. For those watching online, we're also glad you are with us. And we'll begin as we always do with an invocation. So if you would please join me by standing. Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, please watch over this body as we make decisions for the good of our county. Please watch over our community, our first responders, our healthcare professionals, our men and women in uniform, both here and abroad. Please also place your healing hands on the family of Tony Strawn, who we will miss greatly. I say these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Please join them in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Magistrate Starks.
Here.
Magistrate Berry. Here. Magistrate Southern.
Here.
No.
Here. Magistrate Tompkins. Here. Magistrate Putman.
Well, I think I already answered one. I'm here. I just assumed you was going to go to me.
It's good to have a full house, though. Glad everybody's here. Gentlemen, you have before you the minutes of both the March 14th fiscal court meeting and the March 21st special called meeting. I believe we can probably entertain a motion to approve both
So
those.
moved.
After a period of review, we have a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Do we have a second? We have a second. Are there any other corrections, clarifications, or additions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. We have our Judges Scholar for the month with us, Miss Emery Nobles from Spotsville Elementary School. It's a big deal that Emery is with us, and I know her family's very proud, and school officials and leadership are proud too. So, Emery, if you could meet me right up here. We're going to read a special proclamation in your honor.
Whereas Emery Nobles has been chosen by Spotsville Elementary School to be the recipient of the Judges Scholar Award for exceptional efforts in both academics and school activities. And whereas Emery's hard work and dedication in making most of the educational experiences and developing positive relationships with teachers and other students will lead to future success. And whereas success is measured in many different ways, whether it be passing a test, scoring the winning point, achieving a particular goal, or taking the necessary steps for overall improvement. And whereas the Henderson County school system could not let Emery's efforts go unnoticed, and whereas the Henderson County Fiscal Court supports the school system and acknowledges these accomplishments as being significant because students such as Emery Nobles will be our future leaders. Now therefore, I, Brad Schneider, County Judge Executive of Henderson, join with the Henderson County Fiscal Court to proclaim today, March 28th, 2023, as Emery Nobles Day here in Henderson County.
Everybody want to come up and get some more pictures? Maybe. Come on up, everybody come on up.
Squeeze on in there, Rick.
Thank you, dear.
All right.
You're all right. You ain't hurt nothing.
All right. Good.
If you don't hold up to that, we don't need it.
Yes, sir. Good. How you, man? Oh,
Rick Duncan.
oh, yes.
Right here. That's Kyle Evans.
Put up with it.
couple of our most recent Judges Scholars actually cast votes when we were taking them, and we appreciate that. It really doesn't count, but if you feel so moved, go for it. Congratulations, Emery, and we will be saying nice things about you a little later, too, but I'm glad you're here. Congratulations to the family, and again to the school. It's a great honor. We'll continue with the agenda that includes a proclamation commemorating Child Abuse Month, and obviously trying to pay attention to that very concerning and important subject. And Kelsey Townsend's with us from the Children's Advocacy Center, so if you want to come up and talk a little bit about it, and also introduce the rest of your team here.
I'll start with introducing my team. This is Samantha Sigler, our Executive Director. Then we have Allie Skaggs, a Family Victim Advocate. Lauren Owens-Cobb, a Victim Advocate. Bailey, MDT Coordinator, and Annette Rigdon, our Office Manager, and I'm our Community Outreach Coordinator, so I'm responsible for putting together the proclamations, all of our community events and stuff like that.
You want to take just a couple minutes and explain what the Children's Advocacy Center does?
We work on the investigation side of sexual, physical abuse children. We provide forensic interviews, medical exams, and we're also there for support for the family during the court process or even after if they need us.
And you serve several communities, is that right?
We serve 7 counties: Henderson, Webster, Union, McLean, Ohio, Hancock, and Davis.
Wow, that's a lot of work.
Yeah.
And we certainly appreciate your work. You've been doing this for many, many years, I know, and Samantha is very familiar to the court. And so thank you. And
You're
with
very
that,
welcome.
we'd like to read this proclamation.
Thank you, guys.
Whereas child abuse and neglect is a serious problem in our society, affecting every segment of Henderson County, and whereas our children are our most valuable resources and will shape the future of Henderson County and the Commonwealth of Kentucky, and whereas child abuse is considered one of our nation's most serious public health problems, with scientific studies documenting the link between abuse and neglect of children and a wide range of medical, emotional, physiological, and behavioral disorders, and whereas child abuse can have long-term psychological, emotional, and physical effects that have lasting consequences for victims of abuse. Every child is entitled to be loved, cared for, nurtured, feel secure, and be free from verbal, sexual, emotional, and physical abuse and neglect. And where it is the responsibility of every adult who comes in contact with a child to protect that children's inalienable right to a safe and nurturing childhood, and whereas effective child abuse prevention programs succeed because of the partnerships created between social service agencies, schools, health, community, and faith-based organizations, law enforcement agencies, businesses, and families, and whereas communities must make every effort to promote programs and activities that create strong and thriving children and families because prevention remains the best defense for our children and families. Now, therefore, I, Brad Schneider, by virtue of the authority vested in me as County Judge Executive of the County of Henderson, Kentucky, do hereby proclaim the month of April 2023 as the Child Abuse and Neglect Prevention Month here in Henderson County.
Thank you very much. Thank you, and please keep up that very important work. We appreciate what you do.
We appreciate your support.
I'm not sure if Sam wanted to say something.
Did you want to come up and say something, Samantha? I know you're like me. You've never met a Mike you didn't like.
I just want to say thank you so much for being here with us today and recognizing April as Child Abuse Prevention Month, and recognizing that our most vulnerable citizens every single day are out there that some we know, and obviously those that we don't, and living horrific childhoods. And we're certainly blessed that we're in the job that we're in, to be able to be there to help them, to work with our wonderful law enforcement DCBS workers here in Henderson County, and our prosecutors, prosecuting office, county and Commonwealth attorneys, because we work with the investigation, prosecution, and treatment of child abuse cases in our 7 counties. So we did bring pinwheels, so I just wanted to offer those up this morning so that if anyone would like to take a pinwheel, those who may not know, pinwheels are kind of the national symbol for Pinwheels for Prevention, for Child Abuse Prevention Month, and they represent happy and safe childhoods that we wish all that our children could have, but we know that they don't. And so until that happens, we'll continue to be here and support our child abuse survivors and work on prevention efforts and education in our communities to raise awareness. So thank you so much for joining us in those efforts. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Sam. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next in your packets, gentlemen, is a resolution we need to pass to go along with the agreement we have signed to continue to accept from a different opioid court case settlements, and that money continues to flow in. So if you read the agreement, I'll need a motion to approve that and send it on in.
So moved.
Oh, got a resolution for it. I'm
Sorry.
sorry.
A resolution authorizing participation in all applicable national opioid litigation settlements and authorizing the county judge executive to execute all subdivision and special district settlement participation forms for benefits along with any and all other necessary documents for Henderson County to obtain settlement funds. Whereas the opioid epidemic has devastating consequences on our Commonwealth and on Henderson County. Whereas a recent report from the Kentucky Office of Drug Control Policy revealed that in 2020, 1,964 Kentuckians lost their lives as a result of overdose, nearly a 50% increase from 2019. Whereas in 2020, an opioid was involved in 90% of the 1,964 overdose deaths. Whereas the COVID-19 pandemic has exacerbated the damage caused by the ongoing opioid crisis, and whereas in response, the Kentucky Attorney General has pursued litigation against opioid manufacturers and distributors, including AmerisourceBergen, Cardinal Health, McKesson, and Johnson & Johnson. Whereas in cooperation with the Kentucky Association of Counties, the Kentucky League of Cities and Local Governments, the General Assembly unanimously passed the governor signed House Bill 427 of the 2021 regular season. Whereas House Bill 427 has been codified as KRS 15.291 and 15.293, and whereas House Bill 427 provides a plan for how to distribute funds from a final settlement with AmerisourceBergen, Cardinal Health, McKesson, and Johnson & Johnson, and whereas on July 21, 2021, Kentucky became a settling state in the litigation against Amerisource, Cardinal Health, McKesson, and Johnson & Johnson, and whereas in the event of a final settlement, House Bill 427 releases all opioid-related claims against AmerisourceBergen, Cardinal Health, McKesson, and Johnson & Johnson. Whereas in exchange for this release, the Commonwealth receives the maximum amount of settlement funds available under the settlement agreements. Whereas the settlement funds will be split 50-50 between the Commonwealth and participating local governments, and whereas local governments may participate in the settlement by signing up on the National Opioid website, and whereas local governments that fail to sign up risk not only qualifying as participating local government, which is necessarily for direct payments from opioid abatement funds. Whereas additional litigation settlements against defendants not included in KRS 15.293 are pending against various opioid manufacturers, distributors, and or retailers, including but not limited to Allergan, CVS, Teva, Walgreens, and Walmart. And whereas the Henderson County Fiscal Court seeks to participate in all opioid litigation which may help mitigate the harm caused to Henderson County by the opioid crisis. And whereas the Henderson County Fiscal Court desires to authorize the county judge executive to execute all subdivision and special district settlement participation forms for benefits pursuant to opioid litigation, agreements with the Allergan statement, the CVS statement, the Teva statement, the Walgreens settlement, and the Walmart settlements. Now therefore be resolved by the Fiscal Court County of Henderson as follows. One, the Henderson County Fiscal Court desires to join in the national opioid settlements against the AmerisourceBergen, Cardinal Health, McKesson, and Johnson & Johnson, and authorize the county judge executive to act as its representative to take all steps necessary to join the settlements. Two, the county judge executive is further authorized to execute all subdivision and special district settlement participation forms for opioid litigation benefits pursuant to agreements with the Allergan settlement, the CVS settlement, the Teva settlement, the Walgreens settlement, and the Walmart settlement, and to execute any and all other necessary documentation to effectuate the county's goal of obtaining the maximum amount of funds available pursuant to all available settlements in order to mitigate the harm of opioid crisis in Henderson County. And three, the county judge executive is further authorized to sign all necessary participation documents in the opioid litigation settlements against other defendants if, in his discretion, participated therein would benefit Henderson County.
Okay, can we get a motion for that?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other questions about that? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, animal control reports. Melissa Fambro with us, yes. Good morning.
Emery, congratulations. That's an awesome achievement. Well, March roared in like a lion for the Humane Society. For the month of March, we had 70 animal control calls. We had 50 animals that were entered the facility, 19 adoptions, 7 animals were reclaimed and returned to the owners. 13 were transferred to other shelters. And that leaves us with about an 83% live release rate. So that's pretty good for a shelter. I want to say thank you for the county for stepping up and helping us move trees that fell on our outside kennels. They destroyed a major part of them. So the trees were big as me, round, tall. So I had trouble picking those stumps up. So I was glad to see those guys roll in with a backhoe and some help to do that. So really appreciate that. And that's about all I have. I don't know if you had any questions.
Any other questions?
Ms. Frambro, just it's interesting. Probably in the last 2 or 3 weeks, I've had some calls and had one individual actually come by my house. They're having problems with either pit bulls or pit bull mixes roaming. And in one case, I think you're familiar with the one that happened up on, I think, 7th Street, where you actually had to get the dog. But is this, I guess, is there a plan in place where we can respond to these kind of calls more effectively? Because they come back to me and they say, well, they seen the dog again, or we called and there was nothing came out of it.
Right.
Are you aware of any of that?
I know that I have officers, they get a call in, dispatch calls, and as soon as they get it, they head out. And I also know the difficulty of we're 15 minutes away, 10 minutes away from that area. And time they get there, the dog is gone, or the dog was not contained in that incident. But that's all I know. I know that I'm kicking them out the door, they're jumping up, I got a call, got to go. So I know the call comes in and they leave immediately. That's all I can tell you.
Yeah, they're gone time you get there. That's what I assumed, but it doesn't sit well with
your neighbors.
people. With
Right,
the people you
yes.
represent. So
Right. And
I didn't know if we needed to step up how we're addressing those calls, because most people are they're afraid. They're not all bad dogs. I know that,
Right.
but just by the reputation, people get intimidated. They're afraid to go out. If they got a dog, they don't want their dog out in the yard with these dogs roaming.
Right.
So,
And, we don't want our citizens scared to go for a walk with their dog either,
Yeah, exactly.
So
Yeah.
we want to get out there and, we have a couple officers that are even coming in early in the morning to try to go back to those areas and try to figure out the path that those animals are, maybe it's a certain time of day, have them come in at 6 o'clock at morning and going out and trying to, locate animals and stay in, till later, 7 o'clock at night. So.
Well, I encourage them to call. I mean, I shouldn't have to call for you.
Mhm.
I mean, you know where it's at, so.
Yeah.
I'm assuming they're calling now. I don't know if they are or they aren't. I don't see a call list for you or how many calls you got on those kind of incidents, but But,
Most of those are run through dispatch, so there's a fax that we receive, and those are scanned in to the call.
mhm.
So those are certainly available.
And I think the area I'm really kind of concerned about would be, I'm going to call it the East End, and that would be probably from around Gabe Street, Alvis, Fagan, in that general area, if you know, that seems to be where most of the problem is. And of course, there was that one incident up on 7th Street, but I mean, it's not exclusive to that area, but there seems to be quite a few. I guess it's roaming,
Right.
you know, they still roam.
Right.
But anyway, would appreciate any effort you can put together to, if nothing else, maybe try to be on the lookout
Absolutely.
for those kind of dogs. I mean, because again, I know they're not all bad, but people have a tendency to be afraid. They're
Absolutely.
afraid if they got their dog out too. So
Yeah.
I'd appreciate it.
We do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One of the things that you said that they're not contained, so do you want the citizens to contain the dog till y'all can get there?
If it's safe for them to do, that's a sure way for us to come and get them. I mean,
Right.
You know, I mean, if it's a traveling dog and there's an open gate or a fence that they can put them in, I'm not saying put them in the house,
Right.
but if they have a backyard, you know, and there's nothing in there, then certainly they could. But, you know, if it's not safe, they can't do that either.
Right.
So,
Okay.
Or just one more thing I thought. Do we have a full complement of animal control officers down there now? Are you still short?
we have 3.
Three,
I'm not sure
and
what
that-
you consider full.
I think that's full.
Okay, thank you.
And I hope you understand that Master Pupman's asking these questions because he gets these phone calls. People know him well enough that all the phone calls come to him, so.
You know, if we don't get them, we can't respond fast, so send them on. You know, tell them to call us. Call the police, call us, you know, call dispatch. And that'll
You know,
save-
I encourage them to dial that. They say, well, on the weekends or something, who you call. I said, that non-emergency number will get you
Mhm.
there.
Yep, and then
So-
they'll dispatch ACO.
Yep. So, and they say, what's that number?
Yeah. Yeah, and that's a hard number to find when you're
Yeah.
worried, you know.
Gotcha.
So, yes, thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, Renese Abner with County Clerk Reports.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Today I have the payments to the county for February 2023. Excess fees for the month, $98,028.46, with a total remitted to the county of $137,205.55. Does anyone have any questions?
Any other questions?
Move to accept.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Anything
Aye.
else? Quick question. As we approach election season, how's your planning going? Everything smooth?
Yes, I'm glad you said that. We just received the poll pads that you guys so graciously had the special meeting about. So we just received those Friday. So we are getting those all set up and making sure they work properly, getting the serial numbers so we can turn those in for that to complete the grant information. And I believe we've already received the payment for those.
I believe that's correct, yes.
Yes, so we already have that money back in hand before we even have the bill. So that's great news.
And was that 100% reimbursement? Did it end up being 100%?
Yes,
Yeah. that's
yes,
great.
for the equipment, yes. So we're tickled about that, and everything's on track. We're scheduling classes for our election workers, so we're full steam ahead.
I know typically primary, non-presidential year, the turnouts are not always greatest. Is that affecting your planning at all?
We have ordered some posters and, to try to, and they're pretty large as far as the information and, the different options for voting that you have. You can apply by mail. There's in early, if you're going to be out of town, you can come in the office. We have those dates. And also early voting, no excuse. 3 days prior to Election Day. So we have a lot of options, and that's an example of the poster right there that we have just ordered. And we will be doing a lot of online promotions, and generally I go to WSON and promote before the election, so I'm sure we'll be doing that. But yeah, and we'll do, of course, newspaper advertising as well. So
We're doing the voting center model, the same number of voting centers we had
Yes.
for last fall, so that seemed to go well.
right.
Yep.
Since
Alrighty.
Since we started the early voting and the centers, have you noticed, has our voting percentage gone up?
If you look at the presidential from 2016 and then look at 2020, it went up 2 percentage points. So, I mean, it just kind of depends on what's on the ballot as to how much participation that you get. This model seems to work fairly well. People like it. They like all the options.
I agree
So
with
we've
that.
had
I've gotten that
success.
comment multiple times.
Yeah, so.
Renisa, I think the clerks just recently had their annual meeting, I think. Was there some good news that came out of that as far as maybe some more reimbursements to the
Right,
county?
there is some money. I have a call in with the State Board of Election to actually see what kind of equipment that I can, apply for this money that's available to us. So I don't have details yet on that, but I do know it's out there available, so I'll be taking advantage of anything that we can get. So
Thank you, Renisa.
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Absolutely,
Appreciate
thank you.
Mr. Evans, county attorney payments, please.
Thank you, Judge. I do have 7 checks to turn over to the county today. One of those is the county attorney employees Aflac 203.66, county attorney employees Dental Life 468.22, and another one for 13.89. County attorney employees health insurance $7,357, and another one for $649. An interest check in a whopping amount of $24.94, and then jail fees collected $172.50. That brings all 7 checks a total today of $8,889.21, and fiscal year to date, $171,018.99 turned over. I'm going to hand this stack of checks to Ms. Emmy to turn over to you, sir.
Thank you. And, the interesting question is, Emery, have you ever held $8,889 in your hands? And as Steve Gold always says, it's a lesson. This is the way it is when you get to be an adult and earn a paycheck. The money comes in, it goes right back out to the government, and we take care of it before you get used to that. So, thank you, Mr. Evans.
Do you need a motion on that, or?
Yeah.
I'll make motion to accept.
Motion and a second to accept county attorney payments. Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, with that, I'll call up Treasurer Brenda Ryder. We have first reading of a budget amendment, again, to accept in unbudgeted revenue, which is always a good thing.
This is the first reading of Budget Amendment Number 7 for the current fiscal year. This is amending into the budget reimbursement of the state funds for the e-poll book, which the clerk just addressed, to be used by the clerk's office for future expenses. The total of this is $102,000. The revenue side is general fund miscellaneous payments. The corresponding appropriation side is general fund voting machines. The total of this budget amendment is $102,000.
I move we accept.
Second.
Motion to approve and a second. Any other questions? I know there was a question about whether we would reimburse 100% or something short of that, and it's nice that we got the whole 100%. So, we have motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We have some transfers.
Yes, the transfers are as presented, and this is redistributing appropriations among the existing budget.
So, go down there quickly. Remember the presentation by the Sheriff's Office about replacing their aging tasers. And there is a sole source for tasers, and that is by Taser. And I'm glad they were able to move money around within their budget to cover this cost. A lot of the travel for the various offices are guesstimates at the beginning of the year, and this time of the year when what they're actually going to cost tends to pop up. So, for instance, in the building inspector training and travel, we got to move $84. Is that right?
Well, we're in the negative. We're moving $1,200 into that because he has
1,200.
2 conferences this
Right.
time,
Right.
one yet to be.
And then coroner needed to fill a gap in the utilities line item and move some money from other categories within his budget. And for both the treasurer and finance officer budgets, we had to move a bit around based on a couple things, just expenses being a little off our projection. And for those of the new magistrates, last fall, when Jailer Brady retired, we appointed Eddie Vaught to be interim jailer for a period of months until we got through the end of December. And his wife also works at the jail, and to avoid any appearance of nepotism or favoritism, we moved her salary to my staff accounts so that she answered directly to me for the period of time that Eddie Vaught was jailer. So that increased salary appeared on our line items here in my office. So we have been reimbursed for that. When she went back to her former position reporting to the jailer, the new jailer, we were able to debit money out of their salary line item to reimburse us, but we still have to account for the expense on the expense side of the ledger. So moving this money does that, and but again, the revenue to compensate fiscal court for this has already come into the revenue line item, correct?
Yes, sir.
So that's what this is about. So any other questions on those transfers? Hearing none, get a
Move
motion
to
to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And on to claims.
You have received your bank balances after paying claims today. Your day-to-day appropriation line should be at approximately 75%. And I do have additional claims. From the general fund to the City of Henderson, $10,758.87. This is for ambulance services for January, February of 2023, and is to come from the ambulance services appropriation line. To the Department of Juvenile Justice, $837.44. This is for February 2023 juvenile housing, and is to come from that appropriation line. To Magistrate Southern in the amount of $733.56. This is for training expense and is to come from Fiscal Court Conferences Training Appropriation Line. To Advanced Document Solutions, $726.76. This is for Xerox copier charges, which is actually a lease buyout for this piece of equipment, and it will now become property of the county, and is to come from the Judge's Office Supplies Appropriation Line. From the jail fund to Corson Fire and Security, $592.50. This is for services and is to come from Equipment Repairs and Maintenance Appropriation Line. To On-Duty Depot in the amount of $2,600. This is for a vehicle partition and is to come from the Prisoner Transport Appropriation Line. That's all.
Okay. Any other questions about claims? We did have a question. There was a $139,000 expense in the jail fund for a routine medical. Was that the typical monthly payment for that contract, or was that?
Yes, it runs somewhere between 120 and 160, depending on the population there.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All those in favor say aye. Oh,
Aye.
get a motion. I need a
Well,
motion.
So mo-
I'm off my mojo today.
So move.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? A couple additional comments. This time of year, I always breathe a sigh of relief because our revenues have exceeded budget. So it's always good to know that the rest of the final quarter here will be hopefully money that ends up in reserve. Our general fund expenses are at 68%, as you heard Ms. Ryder say. That's 7% under, the budgeted amount at this point. So we're doing well. Revenue's going to be okay, and expenses are doing well. Appreciate all the department heads and elected officials who are helping make that happen in the general fund. So we're on schedule. Good to know. Thank you, Brenda.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brenda.
With that, any other comments from the members of the Finance Committee? We met yesterday, talked about a lot of these issues.
We went over the finances and stuff, and everything looks like we're doing well. So keep up the good work.
Have some, keeping an eye on the jail. That's the detention center budget's always something we watch closely. Doing that now. Old business. For those who were not able to make our joint meeting with the City Commission a couple weeks ago, it was a good meeting, very productive. We were mostly reviewing the budget request for 2023-24 from the agencies that we co-fund with the city, like the airport, the Planning Commission. We took those presentations under advisement. We're going to work on those a little bit, part of our budgeting process, and let the city know what we'd like to see from those, if any changes are needed. And you'll be hearing more about that soon. But two things that came up that I'd like to maybe get a vote on, or at least permission to proceed, involve two things. One was a community outreach program that was proposed by Leadership Warm Center to try to tackle in some fashion the influx of fentanyl in our community. And we know that's been a very trying topic lately. And with the influx of opioid funds that have a very narrow list of things we can spend them on, education is one of them. And the proposal by Dale Seitz and Nicole Frields was that they house on their dime a office with a single new hire whose sole purpose would be to coordinate education efforts in schools and churches and various organizations about how dangerous fentanyl is and how it's impacting our community. They would also, I think, acquire a vehicle for this person. What they needed from both the city and county was an equal split of that person's salary, and they proposed $60,000 a year, and again, split between the city and county. We have $176,000 now in that opioid fund, our first installment of money that we're receiving. And the idea was to let this work for 2 years, see how it went. And there's a lot of reporting that's going to have to be done, a lot of contractual language that still has to be worked out. But the magistrates who were there, and correct me if I'm wrong, thought that was a very reasonable idea and then the sooner we could get this started, the better. And $30,000 a year for 2 years is relatively small percentage of that $176,000. So,
Yeah, to address that issue, it's really a small fee, in my opinion, of the $30,000 our half. For the crisis, that it's everywhere. This opioid fentanyl, we talked about it at length. They're going to handle everything, as the judge just mentioned. All we're doing is put up some money. All the onus is on them to manage it, to take care of it, and provide what else is needed. So I thought it was a pretty good deal, personally, and given what we're trying to address.
And I was sensitive as well to the cost of this for the county, because we may have other things we'd like to spend this money on. For instance, law enforcement needs. I'm sure there are other things we're not thinking of. But again, the list of approved expenditures from the federal government's fairly, from the litigation guidance is very limited. And education is definitely one of them, though. So any other questions about that?
You mentioned something about the reporting structure and how they're going to be, it's going to be regimented. Who are they going to come read out at court? Are they going to send it over to your office? How do we see the progress or the struggles that they're doing? That way we can be aware of how it's going.
I'm certain we can get copies, right. Even if they don't report directly to us, if they have to report it to the state in some fashion. Mm-hmm. We I will ask for copies. I will make sure we get copies.
Sure.
So, because there will probably be some reporting onus on us as well.
That's
So to
where
have
I was
that-
going with that,
yeah.
right.
Trying to quantify.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And actually, that's the reason why we did a 2-year thing, or,
Yeah, because if it's not going well, we're not overcommitted.
Right.
And there's a lot of questions yet about how that reporting is going to look, how often. Like I said, there's a lot of details to work out, but I thought we would get a sense of your willingness to move forward now so that we can get it underway and get up and going quickly as
It's
possible.
absolutely needed. I was just trying to figure out the reporting structure there.
Yeah.
And I think the Warm Center is already kind of in that mode. They already have evidence-based reporting on their current services.
Because
So
they
I
get
think this will
grants.
just be kind of an add-on to what they're, now, it may be a different format or
I'm just
whatever, but,
making sure we're good because we got skin in the game now.
right.
well, and I think that's one of the requirements of the monies, is that we do have to account to make sure that we're getting results.
Yeah.
And I think we're very lucky to have a place like Warm right here in our community that has already been helping in this drug crisis that we're in, and now hopefully added to this a more unified and really targeted education program about fentanyl. And we heard not too long ago at our conference that, and we spent well over an hour listening to how this is affecting every corner of our Commonwealth, and especially right here. So I'm in favor.
So I guess I'd like a motion to approve from our opioid litigation funds $30,000 a year for the Warm Center project outreach program for 2 years. And we will revisit after 2 years. And also pending the working out of agreements between city, the Warm Center, and the county to get this off as it formally needs to. So anybody want to make that motion?
So move.
Second,
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
you mentioned the car. When Dale proposed all this, he said he reached out to one of the local car lots, and they give him a car. So
I think people feel strongly about
it's
it.
good that it kind of says our community's getting behind this too.
Absolutely.
So that's
You know, we had a period there in January, I believe, where within just a few weeks, we had 4 people die from fentanyl overdose.
Yeah,
And-
we've got to figure this out. The only way
Yeah.
we can do this together, so.
So, okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Also, at that meeting, as I've spoken to some of you about, the 911 system is about to incur some significant costs in upgrading its computer-aided dispatch system, as well as the annual maintenance cost for that system. It is a need. It is a necessity to make sure our 911 center operates at peak efficiency, which is important. But the cost was such that the city's initial plan to pay for this was to encourage both the county to agree with them in increasing the fees on water bills that currently support 911 now. And as I mentioned to some of you, I didn't think personally that this was a proper time to be asking for those sorts of increases when the city is investing in large projects and the county is in good financial shape, as I touted often during my campaign in the fall. So to ask, even though it's a small amount of money, I think the increase was suggested going from $3.25 a month to $5. Again, not a lot of money, but I think it sends the wrong message right now. I think the example I used in the meeting, it's hard for me to go to a grandmother in Hebbardsville and say, yeah, we're doing all these big things, but for absolutely vital, crucial government service such as 911, I need more money from you, even though it's not a lot. And so coming up with a different plan I thought was appropriate, and at that meeting, I proposed that we, the county, pay upfront for the cost of the CAD system, which is approximately $635,000, somewhere in there, and also the first 4 years of maintenance at $58,000 a year, for a sum total of just under $900,000. And then at a time schedule that the city could choose, within reason, just pay us back their portion of that amount. And the last time the city and county went together on a CAD system was in 2015, I believe. and they paid a 66-33 split, 2/3, 1/3. And that would be a acceptable split ratio once again this time around. I think in that meeting, there was a good response from the city commissioners who were there to this proposal. We certainly can afford it, and again, it's money we were going to spend anyway, and city is willing to do this. And they, Robert Gunther at the time, even suggested a more aggressive payback schedule. I left it up to them to decide, but if what he proposed is accepted by the city commission, we'll have our payments back within 18 months. So it's entirely up to them. No, I thought I'd give them a little leeway. We have a lot of contractual language to work on that too yet, but I thought it would be good to hear your thoughts for those of you who were not there, and perhaps get a vote to move forward with that pending the resolution of the details and the arrangement with the city. So any
Yeah,
thoughts and questions?
just real brief, though, I thought it was a great offer, and you came up with that offer, so I applaud you for that. They seem to be very receptive. I'm for it. You know, that one time, and we're done with that part of it. Done. Now, you know, that's still that unknown going forward, because we know that we've incurred some unexpected expenses that we weren't really. I tell you, I was there, and I wasn't aware of it when we done the deal. But this one, I like.
Any other thoughts?
I agree. I agree with Master Putman. Absolutely better than putting anything else on water bills right now. I mean, that was great. You did a good job. That was great. We talked about it yesterday. I'm 100% agreeable with that. I think that's a good idea. It's great.
I'll just piggyback on that and say yes, kudos. I think that's great thinking out of the box kind of sort of thing of how to address this. It is a critical need. I mean, when you pick up that phone and dial 911, you want to make sure that call's going to get through to the proper agencies in a timely manner, and you've got help on the way. So, and I think the city was very impressed with that. So, yeah, I'm all in.
Any other thoughts? Master Putman's correct. In 4 years, we will still have, you know, decisions to make. Maybe this will give us time to figure out a maybe a more innovative way to fund this, or, you know, just agree that maybe that's the time to increase the fee on water bills if necessary. Hopefully this CAD system, which is the big ticket item, will last more than 4 years. But, you know, technology is such that it can get pretty obsolete pretty quickly, unfortunately. And so if you wouldn't mind making a motion to move forward with this with the understanding that we would pay the cost of the CAD. Our offer is going to be to pay the cost of the CAD in the first 4 years of maintenance, pending the resolution of details and the approval of City Commission. I'd appreciate it. It would help us, again, get that ball rolling as well.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion on that? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We also have in your packets a copier agreement for the jail, and all contracts on things like even copier agreements have to come to fiscal court. So you have those in your packet. If you don't have any questions, I think they're just basic contracts for leasing copiers. Entertain a motion to approve those.
So moved.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? Emery, this is the really sexy stuff in government. Copier leases. I mean, I'm telling you, it's crucial. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Thank you. Anybody for the audience have anything for good of the county? Hearing none, I'll go around the horn, and once again, I'll start with Magistrate Southard so he doesn't have to go last.
Here.
Thank you. Well, start out, Emery, congratulations. It's I've watched you grow up, so it's cool to see you sitting there, because that means you're doing a better job than I did when I was a kid. It's, you know, you got picked out of the whole school. And Spotsville's not a little school, so it says a lot about you and Mom and Dad, which they probably get on your nerves a little bit, but they're trying really hard to make you. Good family. Know them all. And you keep doing what you're doing. The roads out in the county are wet. Trees are falling. And I appreciate everybody being patient, but the road department's doing a good job of getting it cleared out and moved. And again, I appreciate what they do. So all's good in District 3.
And next I'll call on Magistrate Stark, so he doesn't have to go last.
Well, thank you, Judge. And
Judge,
good morning, everybody.
Judge, can I just interject something here? It seems like I'm always going either next to last or last. Was it by virtue that I moved my position? I never get to go first.
I believe this is a matter we'll need to talk about after the meeting.
I'll yield if you want. I don't really have much to say except, again, good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us. And again, appreciate what the Child Advocacy Center is trying to do to promote more and better education about the effects of child abuse, and appreciate all that you do throughout the year. Every month is Child Abuse Awareness Month, really. Is it Emory? Emory. Thanks for hanging out with us this morning. Great to have you here from Spotsville. I know Keith Berry is very proud of that area out there that he covers, but it's a pleasure to have you and your family here this morning. And just like Magistrate Southard said, keep up the great work. You're on the right path, so just keep doing what you're doing. And I'm sure even bigger and better things are in your future. So thanks for coming in. And I'm going to give just a little PSA here since I'm on the County Board of Health now. The Green River District Health Department is currently in the process of conducting a community health assessment. Probably you folks have received an email on this. They had the kickoff on Friday in a virtual format, but the assessment includes a survey collecting information from our community and communities around us regarding what they feel are the community's most concerning health needs, and to reach a wider audience, getting more significant insights to the needs of the population served in our community. Everyone's being asked, including members of the court, to share this information with colleagues, customers, family, and friends. So this is for everybody. And I think it is important. We do this on a periodic basis to really drill deep down into the areas that we're lacking, maybe the areas that we're doing well. And so I would encourage you, there's a flyer that's going out, there's a QR code that you can scan in and take this survey. And they really do want to hear from all aspects of our community. And this will be going on for a while. And so I'll probably periodically just remind folks of this, and I'm sure you're going to hear more about it in the general media as well. And everything else in the 5th is doing quite well. It is also the anniversary of the 1937 flood. Before you leave, and anybody that comes to the courthouse, why not check out our display out here in the hallway. It has a really good overview of what transpired back in 37. Of course, that was supposed to be the flood to end all floods, but Tim, Keith, and the rest of the court, I know Nick knows that that's not the case. But luckily, we did get a lot of rain last weekend, more than farmers need for sure, but at least I don't think we're approaching anything like back then. But just with all that, I just say good morning and thanks for joining us this morning and indulging me.
Thank you. Master Tompkins.
No, thanks.
I'm not saying
Yeah, thanks, Judge. Emory, congratulations to you and your parents, because I'm a firm believer in accountability, and that starts at home, so well done to you guys. I know you're proud. Also important to remember that with your success and where you go, remember respect and kindness, because everybody is looking at you, no matter whether you realize it or not. And obviously you do a good job of that, but just remember that as you continue to build on what you do. Hard work and effort can never be replaced, and you understand that as well. So super proud of you, young lady. Keep it up, and I never had a day in accounting for me, so You're doing better than a lot of us. Congratulations.
Master Berry.
Thank you, Judge. I'd like to give a couple of minutes of my time. Cindy Weaver didn't realize that she should have spoke what she's wanting to talk about a bit during Good of the County. With your permission, can she? Cindy.
I apologize for that. I'm actually a director for a nonprofit called Infinite Hope, but that's not what I'm approaching today. There's another group called Healthy Henderson. They are led by Linda White under the direction of Deaconess. Healthy Henderson includes mental health, substance abuse, obesity, and physical activity. The school system is a part of this, and I was at a meeting this morning with the school system, and they are addressing suicide prevention within the students. And one of the things that they're looking to do is to have a presence at Tri-Fest, and at Tri-Fest they will hand out gift bags. And they are looking for a sponsor also for T-shirts for students. And on the front, the T-shirts will have 988, text or call, and on the back will be a very positive message. And they are looking for a sponsor for these T-shirts in the amount of $500. So that's what I'm here to
So are you
report.
asking us for
I'm
$500?
asking you for $500 for the mental health group that's part of Healthy Henderson to provide T-shirts with 988 and the positive message on the back. 988, as you all know, is the suicide line now to call for support or if help needs to come and take them to the hospital or crisis intervention center over in Owensboro. The T-shirts are going to be made before the Tri-Fest, and you know, I'm not sure if you all are aware, but there was, it's a survey that goes out to the students every year, and in the 21-22 school year, 6th, 8th, 10th, and 12th graders, in those, just those 4 grades, 76 students attempted suicide 2 to 3 times during that period. That's an alarming amount to me. You know, and this doesn't include grades 7, 9, or 11. So I think it's important that we get the word out to these kids, let them know that there's people that they can talk to.
There's a precedent for these kind of requests, small requests. For instance, if you remember last year, the fiscal court helped fund the first Juneteenth celebration in a relatively small amount of money. There's a line item in the budget called fiscal court advertising, and this covers a wide range of things, including promotional considerations if we decide to sponsor something like this. And there's $3,200 in that account right now. So I think if you're amenable to this $500, which we would hope would include some sort of recognition of fiscal court on the T-shirts, if maybe a logo.
Of course, yeah.
Logo.
Yeah, I'm sure that they could put the logo sponsored by fiscal court.
Yep. The money is there, and if you'd like to do this, we can.
Sounds like a good use to me. Sorry, Keith.
So
Yeah, let's do it.
We have a
Second.
motion and a second. Any other questions or discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So we'll need a couple things. We'll need an invoice,
Okay.
and we'll need to know how we get our logo to whoever's going to be handling this project.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy.
Mr. Magistrate Barry, anything else?
I think congratulations to Emery over there. She's got a real important decision to make coming up shortly. You got to think about it. Thank parents. I know y'all are proud of her. We are as well. Thank the advocacy ladies. Very, very important work. Just like Cindy just talked about on her thing there. We've talked about a lot of important things today. Y'all do great work and keep it up. So thank everybody for coming. Thank all the magistrates and everybody here. Thank you, Judge. Now, the question is, where are we going to eat lunch? Am I going to have to decide that?
Oh,
Be careful, man.
Don't let him decide.
Bologna and cheese.
He'll cheap out on you, Emery. Don't let him do it.
Bologna and cheese.
Subway it is.
Yeah, that's right. Well, maybe your mom will help when we get ready to go. How about that? All right. With that, Judge, I think everything's good. We've had a lot of rain. The roads are wet, as Tim said, but it'll be, before long, we'll be seeing how dry it is. So it's all good in District 1. Thank you, Judge.
Mr. Evans.
Thank you, Judge. Congratulations. I know her as Emmy. I've known her for several years. She was actually on my all-star basketball team that COVID shut down, and I've known her for the last few years. Family's a great family, like everybody said. Respectful. I think Measure Tompkins said she's told me thank you every time I tell her everything. She's like, thank you, sir. Makes me feel old up here. But congratulations. Congratulations so much. Nothing else from the County Attorney's Office, Judge.
Okay. Finally, Magistrate Putman, I'm sure you have something to say.
Well, thank you, Judge. It's always good to go last, because what can you add to this? I mean, I think all the other magistrates and Mr. Evans just puts the icing on the cake, pretty much. But Emery, just congratulations. I know your parents are extremely proud. The schools, you make the school proud. And like Magistrate Southern said, it's a pretty big deal. I noticed most of them, the students that come up here, they kind of, then I think
It is a big deal.
Magistrate Tompkins said he's never received a proclamation in his life, nor have I, just to add to that. But anyway, enjoy your lunch and think about something nice, Make Magistrate Barrett pay. Yeah, go deep. And you are all welcome to go with them. But anyway, Emery, congratulations again. I didn't mean to be so interruptive, Judge, but I was just kind of kidding. I assumed I was going to get to go there for a minute, like I answered for Master Southern when Kurt threw the curveball. But anyway, it's been great. The Children's Advocacy Center, we really appreciate everything you do. It's a big task to confront the issues that you guys have to, and just thank you so much. And Judge, all is good in the fourth.
Thank you. I'm glad you're willing to play along there. And for those of you who are watching this and wondering whether it's always this kind of circus, I'll say this. We confront very serious issues just about every day of the week, both in their positions and mine. So to try to keep it light when you're dealing with very serious things sometimes helps you maintain an even keel and enjoy what can sometimes be a very difficult job. And Samantha's nodding her head because she knows what I'm talking about. So even though we're laughing a lot, trust me, it's all serious business and we're paying close attention. But just trying to have fun in an otherwise, pressure-packed situation. So bear with us, and I hope you understand. Emery, congratulations. It's a big deal. Thank you for hanging out. I could hear her asking questions and getting responses back there, so that's great. I hope you do enjoy lunch, and I hope you do know that it's not always just grade point average that dictates who the judge's scholar is. There's a lot of qualities you possess that led to your nomination for this, and sometimes those are even more important, as Master Tompkins pointed out, than just getting good grades in school. Those are great, but there's a lot more to being a well-rounded person enough to get this honor, and obviously you're doing all those things, so congratulations, and I'm very happy for you to get that recognition. I mentioned Tony Strawn in the invocation, and for those of you who don't know Tony, he's a long-time communications professor at Henderson Community College, well known to everybody who's very active in the community, a good friend of mine. I just saw him last week. We served in several community initiatives together. He taught me a lot. He always taught at least one class of the Henderson Leadership Initiative year on speech making and communication. Very important, very good at it. He was a terrific professor who impacted the lives of many, many, many young people in our community. And he passed away over the weekend. And it is tough news.
Big loss.
But he will be remembered very, very fondly. We will miss him. And I have not, it's still new enough, I have not heard arrangements yet. But Please keep his family in your prayers, and know that we're going to miss Tony Strawn a lot in this town and in this county, and it will be tough to replace him. But he leaves behind an amazing legacy, and I think I can only hope to have as many people point to me and say he made a positive impact in my life, like I know people will say about Tony. So rest in peace, good man. With that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor can leave.